Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Archicad User Group webinar series for 2024. If you don't already know me, I am Matthew Phillips, the Western Cape representative for TotalCAD Solutions Centre. I'll be your host and moderator during these sessions. So without any further delay, let me introduce our presenter, Andre Steynberg. He will be taking us through best practices when using the Archicad template, as well as demoing on a live project. Over to you, Andre.
Hi, thank you, Matt. Let me just share my screen. I'll get it away. Alrighty. Afternoon, everyone. As Matthew mentioned, I'm Andre Steynberg, and I'll be taking you through a couple of things today. First off will be a walkthrough through the essay template and a live project. And I'll have some Q&A, but first off, a little bit about me. Very quickly, as you can see, I've been using Archicad since about version 16, I think, more or less. Did the BIM manager course about 2 years ago and just about finished the BIM coordinator course as of yesterday. And yeah, that's about more or less just about me. So for the essay template, we'll get into the why now, but it will always be free, up to date. And what I'm trying to do is chase all the newest features in the latest Archicad version. So on the why side is that through my years of using Archicad, I've always seen people, they struggle, not struggle, but they fight Archicad instead of getting useful time in using Archicad. I see a lot of people fight Archicad in the way they work and so forth. So that was the idea in setting up the essay template. The inspiration actually came from an American architect called Shunome. It's Shunome Architects in, I think, Philadelphia. So you're welcome to check out his template as well. And he set up a free template, and you can use it commercially, whatnot. And I think his inspiration was the same as mine, just to give back to the users, help them on the way, show them how powerful just plain vanilla Archicad is, and yeah, that's about it. So more or less the why would you want to use a more customized or robust template is, we'll jump into that now in the essay template and our office template, but it's basically the more effort you put into before you start work, it'll pay off. So if I can just take through these points, it's so basically I'll show you the specifications, but just the simple schedules. If you start setting up your schedules, your specification, once it's set up and tested and you work by the rules that we'll get to in a second, it's almost foolproof. You don't have to check on it. I even sometimes work and I get to check stuff when I publish. It's so reliable. So that's a major time saver. And then one of the big things that I see people do is recurring setup within Archicad is without using favorites is sometimes thinking of an example. So a big thing is slabs that show on home story, show above. That can be quite tricky. So if you go into the standard template and use that every time, every project, you have to go and set that up. Whilst I've done the setup for you. So you'll see once you start using these setup things, it's a major time saver. I mean, just thinking of maybe 10 minutes a day on one subject that you save will be a major thing down the road. And something fun is the quicker presentation with graphic overrides and model view options. I'll show you how you can do nicely colored or rendered floor plans, and that's built into the template. You don't have to have, well, you can, but you don't have to necessarily have Photoshop and all that. You can produce a very nice concept plan within Archicad alongside your working plans. So, and the last option here is smart labels and publishers. So I see people, they're either afraid or they of a publisher said, or they don't understand it, because a lot of the times I show them what we do with our auto text, and they're quite keen on it. So, you know, again, if you set up that every time, even if you have a project with 10, 50 drawings, to manually set up every drawing, it's really quite a time intensive task. So yeah, let's get to the last one here before we dive in. So yeah, like I said, why would you want to use this? It's again, as the first point is, you'll also start realizing that there's less mistakes. So once you start using favorites, Archicad starts doing some of the heavy lifting for you. You'll see that it's tested, you've tested it, you've saved it in Archicad. That thing will run on its own. It doesn't matter what happens. So you'll get less mistakes on each and every project. So, and you'll open up more time to explore different design options, because you'll spend less time on documentation, less time on admin things, renaming drawings, moving stuff around to show it correctly, and also, yeah, spending less time on 2D elements. Our template focuses mainly on 3D elements to keep everything alive, which we'll show in the specifications as well. And then also better return on investment. I mean, Archicad isn't for free. You need expensive computers, or at least quite a good spec computers. So, we really want to maximize what you get on your investment. And then the last thing is, like I said in the beginning, time to do whatever. If you can realistically, I say conservatively, cut off 15, 20 minutes a day that you've spent on, say, admin, or going back doing manual things, that at the end of the day, or at the end of the work week, that's quite a lot of time. So that time is up to you. What will you do? You can spend either refining your template even more, getting it to a stage where it's really streamlined, or just spend more time on really fine-tuning your design options for clients, concepts, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's about that for why you should. So let's jump into the essay template as a whole. So this is it. So once you've opened the essay template, this is what you'll get. This is a sort of a house that I've drawn up for an example. It's just a demo. It's not supposed to be anything more than that. Just for example, up the top here, you'll see previous versions of objects and favorites that we've done. So this is basically 1 version, 2 version, and the latest one, which will show is all the latest revisions that's been captured here. So if we can move on, I'll show you from the back, and then we'll get to the view maps. So this is what I talk about. So just moving from the back to the front, this is the already set up view map. All the auto text are contained within that. Same as the layout book, we've got a very simplified layout book, only concept and working. And if we head back to the view map, that is corresponding to that. So let me just get my bearings quickly here. Okay, so like I said, here is a concept floor plan with gray walls, that sort of thing. That's all done by graphic override. We head over to the image fill. You see immediately we have, that's also done by graphic override. We have an image fill that can correspond to tiles, different tiles in the bathroom, another finish, and this is just slabs and graphic overrides. That's about it. That's about as easy as that is. If we go to same thing on sections and elevations, sorry about that. So on working, then you have your working drawing. So in one file, you can have concept, you can have your marketing plan and your working drawing all in one. It doesn't need to be different files or different versions of one file. It can all be one item. So let's see side by side quickly. Okay, yeah, this is just title block is already set up for you. Let me show you the elevations. So very simple, obviously, just an example, but we've included a workflow, and I'll show you the workflow as well, so that you can have your sewer and your architectural elevations on one. So these on just an overlay. That's your sewer on the foreground and your architectural at the background. Show you quickly the template workflow. And this is also for your users, so you can see from the favorites how it's thought out. This isn't showing up very well, I know, but you'll have access to this in the template itself. So you'll see the explanation of how a favorite gets into the layer combinations. What is the thinking behind layers into the view map, thinking behind that, into the layout book and out into the publisher set. So they will also give you a background of how the publisher set works, where some of these texts come from. Some of them are auto text, some of them are plain text. So yeah, that will help you in. So here we have the auto text. So that will also help you in setting up your file as you go. And one thing that someone has requested in the past is to show the title, how to change your title block. So that's included in the in this workflow. So one quick thing before we jump into my daily driver template is the latest revision. I've included properties in specification, so I'm not going to go in a deep dive of what properties are, that whole story. It is included in this workflow here to show you what's what. There is also some links to educate yourself. This one in particular, the Archicad training by Tim Ball, is very good. It is where this whole thing was started. So I would suggest that you also go and have a look at that. But the long and the short is, I'll open up my favorites real quick. Not a lot of favorites contained in the architect in the essay template, I'll admit, but you have to start somewhere. So the idea behind properties and specifications and the favorites is that's where your speed is going to come from. So the idea is you set up an object, wall, window, whatever, you save it as a favorite, and then once that item is saved, you can use different labels to extract different kinds of information. So just to explain what I've done here, that's been a favorite wall. So that's 115 plasters, 115 brick wall plaster. And now we've gone and extracted information that has previously been saved in that wall. So you'll see masonry wall smooth plaster that corresponds to this label. This label goes and recalls this information. So that would be for working drawings. We also have one for council specifications, which is the more simplified version, which you'll see here. So that is your little toolbox of items. So I think at the moment there's about 200 or about 170 predefined. They haven't got specifications in it. I'll leave that up to the users, but you can go through these items and edit them, put in your own specifications. And I mean, once you start drawing, you're already adding in information into your model. So once you've finished modeling, your model is information rich. You can only extract the information. There is no process of adding information on top of your model. It is integrated in it. And that is a big time saver, as we'll show in the next model. Just give me a second to stop sharing here. Jump into the live project. Okay, so this is one of our latest projects. It's not the most complex, but it is the latest one. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. Just open it quickly. I'll explain the project quickly. It's 3 different houses. So there's 2 single-story houses. This one at the bottom here is a double-story version. And thanks to Archicad's new design options, we have been able to have a base house, but have 3 different versions of that house. So there's a little part that changes of the house, and instead of having 3 different models of that one house, we were able to recreate the options with the design options, which is quite incredible. With everything, you've got your different corresponding schedules and whatnot with that. So as I'll show you, this one is a bit more advanced from the previous one, but everything I show you here is possible with the essay template. The essay template is just slightly more simplified, but obviously this one I work in every day. I update this template probably once every 2 weeks, so it'll obviously be more advanced. So here we have our little working drawing plan. We'll switch over to the marketing plan, and this is all live. The only thing that isn't live are the little shadows, which you can see here, that you can get from the 3D document. Take you through the volume plan quick. Oh, sorry, that's actually what I want to show you. Just to give you a better example of the sewer elevation workflow. I know that's a question that always comes up as well, because people sort of are afraid to use the MEP modeler, so they revert back to using lines and whatnot. So there's, in the background, we have our little house, and in the foreground is the live MEP sewer connection. So that's all live. There's no lines. If you change something, it will change on the elevations as well. Okay, let me show you quickly. Finish this plan. There was a question this week about it as well. Just to reiterate that absolutely everything in this project is live information. There's very little 2D static information. Even our little finishes schedule here is done via graphic overrides, and all it does is it picks up stuff from this. So you can see the corresponding, there's block work in the sort of purple, you've got smooth plaster, which is in the blue. So that's, like I said, once these kind of things are set up in a project, and I mean, if you think of a house or an estate with maybe 10, 20 different houses, once this little template of yours per project is set up, you roll through those things at quite a speed because everything's done. There's no need to go and set it up again for every single house and so forth. Just have a look quick. Oh, so again, sanitary schedule, all these things come from favorites. So we just start even as a base. So let's just take this bar, for instance. There might be a standard in the favorites, but once you place that information down, you can quickly change it. So if there is a special item, you can mark it as that, and you don't have to worry about it. As long as it's marked and it can be found later on within your specifications. So for instance, this is the specification list that is generated from this model. So all these things, this is all generated from that. If you have a special item, you can differentiate it and it will be captured in here. And way at the end of the project, see, I haven't just caught one here. I haven't done the windowsill, but it doesn't matter because it's easily, I can easily fill this in and it'll generate through the entire project. So one more thing of the, once you have a information-rich model by using favorites and that, you can extract them in quite a lot of different ways. So this one is actually, the idea came from John at Contrabum, where he uses a 3D document, and these are just ordinary labels. And this, I think this is what's a requirement of the client, just wants to give an overview of the little house. And again, this is live. You can see we have taps, bit of parking, there's the boundary line, and everything is just information we extract from this model. There's no, if there's a change the timber or we change the windows, it will automatically reflect in this once we update all the drawings. So I think that's almost that for my my office template. I'll just have a look at if I'm just going through my list. If I've actually touched on everything, it should be. There's one last thing. I'll just show you quickly something in the finishes plan as well. So we have our paint. Our paint is also, this is one of the labels, and all it does is, sorry about that, it picks up information in this wall. There's our paint color, our exterior paint color. It's picked up by the label, and that then goes to our paint color schedule, and that is also auto-generated from the model. There's no need to go and type in all sorts of manual stuff. This is already picked up from the interior, from the exterior in a certain manner, but it is automatic once it's set up. I'm just going to jump back into the essay template for a moment, and I want to show you something. There you are. So just starting to conclude. So I've shown you the essay template. I'm sure you are all aware of how the standard template is, but let's just do a side-by-side quick so that you can see that although there's a lot going on in our office template, it's not necessarily extremely complicated. The idea is still simple. So from the layer combinations, you can see plain old Archicad standard, nothing much there, we all know. Essay template, something else is going on here. There's a bit more of a local language that we've used to, well, it is called the essay template, so we've actually tried and localized it to how people talk on site, wherever. And then moving over to the My Current Office template, you can see there's a few extra things, but it isn't double the amount of information. And that's the point. You don't need this enormously complicated template to do enormously complicated projects. Again, the layers, we know what's going on in the standard template. We've expanded quite a bit. There is method to this madness. If there's a bit of time, we'll have a quick squiz at the favorites. But again, as you can see, almost the same in my daily office template. And I mean, we don't, in our office, we don't do just single-story houses. We do quite a varied type of work. So our template usually corresponds well with that. Same story with the graphic overrides from standard, essay template, and a bit more in the in our daily office template. We've got a bit more that graphic override that show FAR and construction elements. We have a certain way of using zones, so that's for that. It's a bit more complicated than I don't want to, or the workflow at least is, but we'll get there. That is the idea, that we try and keep the essay template feature rich, but simplified, that anybody can pretty much use it. And then some of the stuff expands, some don't, especially pen sets. I know this can be quite a sort of a confuse people, the amount of pen sets. So we've gone and said, no, we want one pen set and that's it. If you want to change something, as you've seen on the marketing plans, we use graphic overrides quite successfully to do that. Same thing with model view options. They have site drafting, that sort of thing. We've gone and said, no, we want either markers on, off, or openings off, or ceiling plans and that. And we found that 99.9% of the time, it's more than sufficient. And lastly, and this is going to be the big thing, is the favorites. I've actually was surprised at the amount of favorites that's included in the standard Archicad template. You'll see we've gone down quite a bit. But the difference between that is the, I'll show you just to remind you, see, that we are starting to add, this is the big thing. This is our specification. So once you've put in that and saved it, you obviously can use it again. So we've got less, but there's 173 items ready for your specification. And compare that to my daily template, which is about, I think we're about 500 and something now. This one is actually a bit older. So you can imagine that, the speed that you can work with if you work with a ready two-hand, fully specified bunch of objects, walls, everything, because with the setup now as well, you know exactly how that object is going to show. Our walls are set up in a certain way, so every time we use it, we know exactly how that wall is going to perform. Same with our beams. So it really does keep time of trying or fighting with Archicad on display issues, that kind of thing, to the absolute minimum. Me and Archicad really have words these days. We do have sometimes, but very rarely. So I think if I just check on my little list here, that should be about it from my side. I'm just almost about 40 minutes. And Matthew, I think unfortunately it's back over to you.
All I can say, Andre, is thanks so much. That was really, really informative. If there's one thing I can ask that I noticed you didn't share, can you just share your screen again? That QR code that you spoke about.
Oh, I know.
I'm not sure.
There we go.
Yeah, so if anybody is interested in gaining access to this template, that, just in case you didn't listen to Andre saying it previously, has no cost and has a lot of robustness on it, this is where you can find it. Pull out your phone, scan that card, that QR code, and it will take you to a link that you can reach out. And yeah, if there's anything you want to add, Andre.
Yeah, now I'll just zoom in here a bit. So yeah, the link will take you to a very ominous looking website, which is called Phylum. You'll have to put in, I'll just zoom in here so that everybody can have a good look. So you'll have the little shortened URL, your password, and then you'll have a the PLN file, and there should be a PDF in there that will explain where that'll explain the layer combination. So layer combination, building plan, and then it'll list the items that are on there, just to give you kind of an overview. And for those that want the QR code, here's the QR code.
End of this session, I think, for me personally, I always love to punt things that have really good value, in my opinion. So when I came across this template, I thought, gosh, I have to have this included at our next webinar. So thanks so much, Andre, for doing this presentation. I'm sure a lot of people that joined got a lot of insight and information out of it. And yeah, if anybody wants to reach out to Andre, you know where to find him. And thank you again.
No problem. Thanks for everyone. Thank you, Matthew, and thank you for your time.
Enjoy your week. See you next month, guys. Bye.
Thanks, bye-bye.